The battlefield sprawled like a desolate graveyard of shattered stone and warped metal, stretching endlessly beneath the relentless glare of twin suns. The air was thick with the acrid stench of discharged plasma and the metallic tang of dust swirling in restless winds. Finn adjusted his visor, scanning the bleak horizon for any sign of movement. His brigade had been stationed here for weeks, guarding the largest known deposit of liquid stone, a rare and invaluable mineral fueling this brutal war. Finn, you see anything? Sergeant Hale's voice crackled through the comms. Nothing but dirt and death, Sarge, Finn replied, his grip tightening on his blaster rifle. Despite countless skirmishes, something about today felt different. Too quiet, too still. Their connection with HQ had gone dead days ago, and the Shima reconnaissance team they often collaborated with had also gone silent. The Shima were an enigmatic race, humanoid but strikingly alien, their skin shades ranging from deep sapphire to brilliant emerald. Agile and elusive, they moved through the jagged terrain with a fluidity humans could only envy. Finn had never encountered one up close until today. A sudden, piercing whine shattered the uneasy silence. Plasma bolts rained down from the cliffs, igniting the ground in fiery chaos. Finn dove for cover, heart pounding as comrades fell around him, their screams cutting through the carnage. He fired back, but the Dry, a ruthless alien horde, pressed their attack with unyielding ferocity. "We're pinned!" Hale shouted, his voice barely audible over the roar of explosions. Finn's mind raced for a solution, but that's when he saw her. She was a blur of blue and silver against the destruction, her sleek, form-fitting suit shimmering with iridescent patterns that accentuated her athletic frame. Her golden hair flowed like liquid light, a stark contrast to her azure skin. With twin blasters, she moved through the chaos like a phantom, each shot precise and lethal. "Get down," she commanded, her voice sharp yet steady. Finn barely reacted in time as she leapt over him, a whirlwind of grace and power. Plasma bolts ricocheted off the shimmering energy shield she projected from her wrist device. The Dry faltered, disoriented by her sudden intervention. Finn watched in awe as she dismantled the attackers with lethal efficiency, her every movement a deadly dance. When the last Dry fell, she turned to Finn, her lips curling into a sly smile. "You're welcome," she said, extending a hand. Finn hesitated before grasping it, surprised by the warmth of her touch. "I didn't catch your name," he said, gratitude and curiosity evident in his voice. "Latcha," she replied, her eyes gleaming with a mix of amusement and something deeper. "Looks like you owe me one, soldier." Together they combed through the wreckage in search of survivors. The grim reality of their losses sank in as Finn realized the full scale of the devastation. "We need to regroup," he said, his tone heavy with resolve. "But we're too exposed here." Latza nodded, her expression hardening. "There's a cave system nearby. We can set up a temporary camp and plan our next move." Finn followed her lead, marveling at her composed strength despite the dire circumstances. As they traversed the rugged terrain, he found himself stealing glances at her. Her movements exuded a captivating mix of stoic determination and playful confidence. By the time they reached the cave, dusk had blanketed the landscape. The twin suns cast long, ominous shadows across the entrance. Inside, the air was cool and damp, a welcome contrast to the searing heat outside. Laxa activated a portable light, filling the cavern with a soft glow. "This will do for now," she said, setting down her gear. "We'll rest here and move out when it's safe." Finn settled onto a makeshift bedroll, his body aching from the day's ordeal, though his mind buzzed with questions. "So, Latza," he began, breaking the silence, "how'd you end up saving my sorry ass?" She laughed, a rich melodic sound that echoed through the cave. "Let's just say I have a knack for showing up when I'm needed, and you look like you could use the help." "No argument there," Finn admitted, a grin tugging at his lips. "You fight like it's second nature." "It is," Laxa said, leaning against the cave wall. "The Shima have been at war as long as I can remember. It's in our blood." Finn studied her, noticing the faint scars etched across her otherwise flawless skin. "And what about you? What do you fight for?" Her expression softened, and for a moment, Finn glimpsed the vulnerability beneath her hardened exterior. I fight to protect what matters, Latsa said quietly, her gaze steady. My people, my home, and now it seems, you. Finn felt warmth spread through him at her words, his heart fluttering with a mix of relief and something he couldn't quite name. Damn, she's something else, he thought, a playful grin tugging at his lips. He couldn't look away from the sincerity in her eyes, feeling a pull toward her that was impossible to resist. Thanks for that, he murmured, his voice low. I don't think I'd have made it without you. Latsa reached out, her hand resting on his shoulder. You're stronger than you think, Finn. Don't forget that. They sat in a silence that felt more comforting than heavy, the weight of the day's horrors settling between them. Despite the chaos and loss, Finn found himself oddly at ease in Latcha's presence. There was a calming strength about her, a connection he couldn't fully explain. As night deepened, the cave grew colder. Their small lamp cast flickering shadows across the stone walls, painting fleeting patterns in the dim light. Finn lay down on a makeshift bedroll, exhaustion weighing heavily on him. Latcha settled beside him, her presence a quiet warmth against the night's chill. Get some rest, she murmured, her voice soothing. We've got a long road ahead. For the first time in days, Finn let himself relax. Her words wrapped around him like a blanket, and he drifted into the most peaceful sleep he'd had in weeks. Somehow, with Latsa by his side, he felt a fragile glimmer of hope. Morning arrived with soft light filtering through the cave's entrance. Finn stirred, squinting against the brightness. Latsa was already awake, crouched near the opening with her blasters ready, her sharp eyes scanning the horizon. Morning, Finn said, his voice groggy. Morning, she replied, glancing over her shoulder with a small smile. Sleep well? Best I've had in a while, Finn admitted, stretching out the stiffness in his muscles. Thanks to you, Latsa chuckled, her eyes gleaming with amusement. Don't get used to it, soldier. Finn grinned, feeling a growing camaraderie with her. Though the circumstances were dire, her presence was a comfort. They shared a quick meal from their rations before discussing their next steps. We head back to base today, Latsa said, her tone firm. But we need to stay alert. The dry could still be nearby. Finn nodded, double-checking his gear. I'm ready when you are. The terrain was as unforgiving as ever, a mix of jagged rocks and sparse vegetation. They moved cautiously, senses heightened, every sound sharpening their focus. As they walked, Finn broke the silence. So, Latcha, what's the story with the Shima? You're not like any other race I've come across? She glanced at him, her expression thoughtful. The Shima are warriors by nature. Survival is in our blood. We've been fighting for generations, but we hold loyalty and honor above all. Alliances aren't something we take lightly. Finn nodded, intrigued. And you? What made you join this fight? Latcha's gaze softened, and a flicker of sadness passed through her eyes. I lost someone important to me, someone I couldn't save. That's why I fight, to make sure no one else has to feel that kind of pain. Finn's chest tightened with empathy. I'm sorry, I know what it's like to lose people. Her eyes met his, gratitude flickering in her expression. Thank you, Finn. They continued in silence, their bond deepening with every step. As the sun began to set, they found a secluded spot to rest. Laxa activated a small energy field to shield them from prying eyes, and they settled by a modest fire. So, Finn asked, leaning back against a rock, what's the plan when we get back to base? Laxa sighed, her expression pensive. We regroup, assess the situation, and prepare for the next fight. But for now, let's focus on making it back in one piece. Finn nodded, appreciating her grounded pragmatism. The challenges ahead loomed large, but he felt an undeniable hope. They had survived the ambush, and with Latsa by his side, he felt ready to face whatever came next. As the fire crackled, its light dancing across the cavern walls, Finn found himself watching Latsa. Her presence was a balm to his frayed nerves, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, there was still light. Latsa, he said softly, breaking the silence. I just want you to know, I'm glad you're here, Finn said softly. Laxa met his gaze, her eyes warm and shining. I'm glad too, Finn. They sat together in quiet companionship, the weight of the day's events settling over them like a heavy blanket. Despite the chaos and loss, Finn found an unexpected solace in Lasha's presence. There was something about her, an unspoken connection that set him at ease, even amidst the turmoil. As the night deepened, the cave grew darker, the faint glow of their small lamp casting flickering shadows on the rough stone walls. Exhaustion finally caught up with Finn, and he lay down on his makeshift bedroll. Laxa settled in beside him, her warmth a welcome comfort in the cool night air. "Get some rest," she murmured. "We've got a long road ahead of us." Her voice was a soothing balm, and for the first time in days, Finn closed his eyes and slipped into a peaceful sleep. A faint glimmer of hope stirred within him. They had survived the ambush, and with Laxa by his side, he felt they could face whatever lay ahead. When they reached the base, it was a bustling hive of activity. The steel-reinforced walls loomed high, shielded by shimmering energy barriers that pulsed under the midday sun. Soldiers moved with a mix of exhaustion and relief, tending to their duties. As Finn and Latsa entered the compound, they were greeted with surprise and joy. "Finn, you're alive!" Sergeant Hale's voice boomed as he clapped Finn on the back. "We thought we'd lost you out there." "Almost did," Finn replied with a faint smile, glancing at Latcha. "But I had some help." Hale's gaze shifted to Latcha, his expression a mix of respect and curiosity. "You must be Laksha. Heard a lot about the Shima, but I never thought I'd meet one in person." Laxa gave a small nod, her demeanor calm and composed. "Pleasure to meet you, Sergeant. Finn's a good soldier. He fought bravely." "That he did," Hale chuckled. "We're lucky to have both of you back." The debriefing with the commanding officers brought Finn a wave of relief. The weight of the past few days began to ease, replaced by the familiar rhythm of base life. Yet despite the return to normalcy, his thoughts repeatedly drifted to Latsha. Later that evening, as Finn settled into his quarters, the soft hum of the base's systems droned in the background. Just as he began to relax, a gentle knock sounded at his door. He opened it to find Latsa standing there, her golden hair catching the light. "Mind if I come in?" she asked, her smile playful. "Not at all," Finn replied, stepping aside to let her enter. Laxa moved with her usual grace, her presence filling the small room effortlessly. She turned to him, her eyes shimmering with a mix of warmth and mischief. "I've been thinking, Finn, we make a pretty good team." "That we do," he agreed, his voice steady but low. She stepped closer, her hand lightly resting on his chest. "I'm not usually one for attachments," she said, her tone softer now. "But there's something about you, something that makes me want to stay." Finn's heart raced at her words, the air between them charged with unspoken emotion. "I feel the same way, Latsa," he murmured. Their eyes locked, the tension crackling like static in the air. Laxa leaned in, her lips brushing his in a kiss that was both tender and electric. Finn felt the world around him blur, leaving only the warmth of her touch and the intoxicating rhythm of her breath. The kiss deepened, a silent exchange of passion and trust, their hearts pounding in unison. Laxa's fingers traced the contours of his jawline, sending shivers through him, while Finn's hands rested gently on her waist, pulling her closer. They melted into each other, the moment igniting a flame of connection, a sanctuary amidst the chaos of their lives. Their breaths mingled, each touch a tender exploration, each whispered word a bridge, drawing them closer. The night became a shared journey of discovery, their bond deepening with every passing second. Vulnerability and passion wove together, leaving them breathless yet whole. By dawn, a golden light seeped into the base, casting a soft glow over the room. Finn and Laxa lay entwined, their hearts beating in a steady rhythm. The war still loomed outside, but here, they had found refuge in each other. "What now?" Finn asked softly, his voice breaking the tranquil silence. Latsa smiled, her eyes filled with determination. "We keep fighting, together." Finn nodded, a sense of quiet resolve settling over him. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew they would face them side by side. Their bond had been forged in the fires of battle, and it would endure the trials yet to come. In the chaos of war, a new chapter had begun, a story of hope, love, and unyielding strength.